by thee. Its members every moment held subject to thy call, ready to have thee use them or not be used at all. Held without restless longing, or strain, or stress, or fret, or things at thy dealings, or thoughts of vain regret. But restful, calm, and pliant, from bend and bias free, awaiting thy decisions when thou hast need of me. Live out thy life within me, O Jesus, King of kings. Be thou thy glorious answer to all my questionings.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Brother Campbell. There was a disruption in our YouTube feed, so a new link has been sent. I apologize and just ask that you go back to the group WhatsApp to get the new link. All right, Pastor. All right, we'll take another song while we wait on Pastor.
Or may I just sing, might not be singing all the stanzas here, just sing a few. Hymn number 371. Lift him up to see that bids you, let the dying look and live. To all weary, thirsting sinners, living waters will he give. And the one so meek and lowly, yet the Prince of Heaven was he. And the blind who group in darkness through the blood of Christ shall see. Lift him up, the risen Savior, I am in the waiting throne. Lift him up to see that speaketh, now he bids you free from wrong. Lift him up, this precious Savior, let the multitude behold. They with willing heart shall seek him, he will draw them to his fold. They shall gather from the wayside, hasten on with joyous feet. They shall bear the cross of Jesus and shall find salvation sweet. Lift him up, the precious Savior, I am in the waiting throne. Lift him up to see that speaketh, now he bids you free from wrong. Lift him up in all his glory, 'tis the Son of God and I. Lift him up, his love shall draw them, neither careless shall draw nigh. Let them hear again the story of the cross, the death of shame. And from tongue to tongue repeated, mighty throne shall bless his name. Lift him up, the risen Savior, I am in the waiting throne. Lift him up to see that speaketh, now he bids you free from wrong. Oh, then lift him up in singing, lift the Savior up in prayer. He's a glorious Redeemer, all the sins of men did bear. Yes, the young shall bow before him, and the old their voices raise. All the deaf shall hear Hosanna, and the dumb shall shout his praise. Lift him up, the risen Savior, I am in the waiting throne. Lift him up to see that speaketh, now he bids you flee from wrong. Amen.
Amen. Lift him up, the risen Savior, he bids you flee from wrong. Lift him up. To see that speaketh, now he bids you flee from wrong. And now we'll turn over to Pastor Lewis to take us through.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Sister Campbell. Good afternoon, everybody. Trust and hope that everyone had a good break. And welcome back to the evening session. All right. All right, before we get into this evening's proceedings, Sister Thompson, can you pray for us, please?
Afternoon, let us pray. Most righteous and eternal Father, we give you thanks for today. Thank you for keeping us up until this hour. Thank you for the lunch that you have provided for us. Lord, as we're about to embark upon another session, we pray, oh God, that it will be beneficial to us. I pray, oh God, that we will learn and unlearn. These are other mercies I ask. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Thompson, for that. All right, gentle folks, we give thanks for keeping us over the past weeks and months while we have been virtual. That being said, we are looking at transitioning from virtual to physical. But before we get into that aspect of this afternoon, I have posted some posters in the group. I think it was Thursday or somewhere there. I know one, I think, had the link and stuff for the service today for the Adventist JA online worship service that will be conducted by Central Conference today. However, there's another link there that has an evangelistic series linked to it. Sister Campbell, you have that? Can you put it on the screen for me?
Let me try and get it.
Let me see if I find it and send it in the meantime. All right, I just sent it to you as well, Sister Campbell.
All right, thank you. Let me get it.
All right. All right, so that Central Jamaica Conference will be hosting their first fully online evangelistic series. This series will run for 2 weeks, and as was mentioned, it is fully online. They will be streaming live through YouTube and their Facebook channels starting tomorrow night. Central Conference has 54 pastoral districts, and so far all pastoral districts are expected to be a part of this initiative. The evangelists will be evangelist Veral Volcano Dixon. For those of us at James Hill, we had him with us last year, November. And a lot of the brethren have been asking about him since then. As you know, Corona kind of throws off guard with some of our plans, but he will be the evangelist for the 2 weeks. His co-evangelist will be Evangelist Paul Newton. So this will be done via, as I mentioned, it will be streaming live every evening via YouTube and Facebook. The program is said to be, it's not going to be a long program in the night. The program will be an hour and 15 minutes. That's the proposed timeline. Each evening, 1 hour, 15 minutes each evening, the proposed timeline, where all churches are asked to join the live feed as much as possible every evening for this evangelistic series. On Sabbaths, they will join the feed at 3:30. So we'll join the feeds at 3:30 on Sabbaths. So we won't join, so there won't be any service in the midday period on Sabbath. We will join the feed at 3:30 for that program. It goes for 2 weeks for now, based on what we were told. For now, it's 2 weeks. The aim is to boost interest in, to reignite the fire and the passion for evangelism. Those persons who would have had interest over the past year, or those who we would have been working with, or we would have been looking at as interest for baptism, we're asked to get them to join the feed online each evening as well.
Coming with it, Pastor. It took some time to download. The internet was a bit slow.
Sorry about that. So that's where we're going starting tomorrow evening. So we're asked to join the The CJC link come tomorrow evening. Come tomorrow evening. We're asked to join the CJC link to begin that evangelistic series. Sister Campbell soon give you a chance to view it. Those who have not gotten a chance to see it, I think we begin at 7 each evening, Sunday to Wednesday evening, and Sabbaths at 3:30, and that will go for the next 2 weeks. All right. So it's coming up, gentle folks. Yes. Nice. Thank you. All right. So Sunday to Wednesday evening, we begin at 7. On Sabbath, we begin at 3:30. And the series begins tomorrow evening at 7. All right. This is the Fires of Hope online evangelistic series. All pastoral districts across Central Jamaica Conference is a part of this initiative. Before, it was just the Park Clarendon program. Then it was the entire Clarendon, but now it has become the entire conference initiative. All right. So we are expected to do our part in getting the program up and running and getting the interest from our pastoral district. Also, come July, we will be partnering with the Spalding District on another online evangelistic program. This one will be conducted by Dr. Newton Cleghorn. So Dr. Cleghorn will be with us. So we'll be partnering with the Spalding District come July. This will begin on the 12th of July for that evangelistic program, and we should be going for 3 weeks. You'll get the details on that one a little later from now. All right. So all our programs going forward will be online. All our programs going forward will be online. All right. So we are expecting you to, we know that some persons have data issues. So we're trying our best to get persons to get as many of the programs streaming via Facebook and YouTube. All right. So for those who have data issues, you should be able to see to view the programs via Facebook and YouTube. Yes. So once. Okay, go inside. All right. So once we so the central program, it won't be via Zoom. It will be straight through YouTube and Facebook. All right. So that will be the central program that will begin tomorrow evening, and we go for 2 weeks with that one. Right. The program, the collaboration with Spalding, we begin on July 12th. Somewhere there. I think it's 11 or 12, somewhere there. But we begin somewhere there for that program, and we will go for between 2 and 3 weeks just to say. All right. All these programs will be fully online, and the whatever interest will be coming from our side, we will do the necessary due diligence and work with these persons. All right, those are the online programs that we're looking at in the coming weeks. Also, the Jamaica Union will be having a let's talk about him. That's Jamaica, all Jamaica evangelistic program, where all conferences in Jamaica are asked to participate. All districts in Jamaica will be participating in this online evangelistic endeavor the last 2 weeks in August. All right. So everything that we do from now to the end of the year will be online as it relates to evangelistic series going forward. All right. So that's it for our evangelistic programs for the next couple of months. As we make our transition now from not completely from this space, because we will still be streaming through this space as much as we possibly can into those who are not able to join us in the physical space. But as we make this transition, gentle folks, we are seeking to reopen. We are seeking to reopen some of our churches in the coming weeks. Right? Our aim is for the first Sabbath in July. However, we will continue to press to ensure that we have all the necessary things in place for the reopening. Let me say, as we look at going forward into this physical space, we are working with 2 hours for these worship services. And you may ask me, why is it that we can't go for the entire day? Why is it we can't look in the fridge? Why is it we can't go for the entire day? Why is it we have to cut just 2 hours? 2 hours we can't keep church not 2 hours, and all of the above. There's a whole lot of back and forth with it as to why it's just 2 hours. Let me remind you, the conference covers members and all those who are within the worship space for the worship period. When we have a full day service, everyone who worship in the space for the period, you're covered just in case anything happen, a natural disaster, somebody get hurt, or any such thing. The conference, however, look in the green bottle. However, since COVID-19 and since we have started to reopen, the policy of the church has been that we have one service for 2 hours on Sabbaths, and everything else be done online or through the virtual space. Yes. Online or through the virtual space. The reason for that, if we go over the 2 hours, we are warned and we are cautioned that the conference will not take any liability just in case something happens. Just in case something happens, after the 2 hours, the conference will not be taking any liability for anybody who gets hurt or anything else after the 2 hours have passed, because the policy is 2 hours, one service on Sabbath, and everything else be done online. All right. So while we think of going back, there are persons who may be thinking that okay, nothing, we not see any COVID in our neck of the woods. So all we have to do is just sanitize we hand and we're free for go for worship for the entire day. No. We have 2 hours. That's the policy of the organization. We don't fly solo on our own. Even if we have our own opinion, we have to keep that to ourselves for the time being. We operate under an organization which we are expected to adhere to the policy and guidelines that the organization has set forward. So even if we think 2 hours is too short, that's what we're given, and we're asked to work with it. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Clear, sir.
Wonderful. So we have 2 hours. We have 2 hours to conduct our worship services on Sabbath. I'll be speaking to I will ask that all the churches don't run the same 2 hours, because I'll be moving from one place to the next, and sometimes 2 hours is not, if everybody have it the same time, I can't be at everybody. So I'll because by the time you move from one to the next is almost 1 hour gone. So we'll be operating under certain time slots for the next few weeks until things change. Right? As it relates to funeral services, we are permitted to conduct funeral services. However, these has to be done with all the guidelines for church. All the guidelines that we use for church is the same guidelines we will use for any funeral service that we will be asked to conduct during the period. All right. So if for worship we can only hold 20, it's the same 20 we can hold, even though the government say up to 50, but the church can hold 20 based on our circumstances. Is 20 we will be permitting to access the building. So when families come to us, if families come of anybody who died, come to any one of you, tell them based on the amount that your church can hold. They're on the road, I can't do anything about that. But once they enter the church compound or the building of the church, then we have to abide by the rules and regulation that the government has stipulated. We don't have a choice. We just have to work with them. And let me remind us, brethren, that these are not optional. These are not optional. The government guidelines are law. These are law. These are the guidelines that were gazetted a few weeks ago. So while we were happy for the break and the release, just remember that you can be charged for them because they were put into law by the government. All right. So as we make the transition, the sanitization is a must. There's no option with sanitization, brethren. Wearing of mask is a must. Wearing of mask is a must. I know that some persons believe that they're not supposed to wear masks and they can't wear masks and all of that. If you can't wear the mask, you stay out the door. Because persons are going around from the Ministry of Health, the police are going around, and they are checking churches. I was at a funeral a few days ago, and the police drove up checking. So it's not as if they're just leaving this thing to chance. Churches are being checked by the police. And don't tell, I know that some person like to say the Sunday, what they not check the Sunday church. You can't watch the Sunday church. Yeah, there's a puss and dog now, see him look. The Sunday church probably going for weeks and nobody not check them. But as you open, somebody come check you. So we have to be mindful of all of that when in going forward, in pressing forward, and in doing what we need to do. Yes, Sister Campbell, that's your hand.
Yes, I was just saying that you're so correct, because they have been checking the schools too, which are their institutions, because even since we had to make adjustments to some to the distancing and the amount of students, we had to cut it down in classrooms again.
Okay, so you see, brethren, we are not isolated. We're not isolated. So we are not just set to roam free. They are checking these places because they know that churches and schools and all these areas are high contact spaces. So they're not leaving it to chance that we will do the right thing. So they're coming around, they're checking, and sometimes they just come and sit down and you don't even know who they are until you finish. Because you see a visitor come, you don't know who the person is, they probably don't even identify themselves until after the service is finished. They watch your procedure, they watch your sanitization procedure, they watch you how you do your temperature checks and how the spacing out of your seating and all these things. So they're going to be looking at all these areas, right? The social distancing, the sanitation, and all of those things they will be looking at. And the fact of the matter is, we may open for 3 months and they don't come, right? We may open and they don't come in. However, we may open and the first day we open, they come. A colleague of mine told me that the first day he opened his churches, the inspector for Clarendon came and sat down in the congregation, and it's after he realized that it was the inspector for Clarendon, the public health inspector for the parish, came and sat down in the congregation. And they check that church and they went and check another one too. So it's not that we are left to roam. We're not left to roam. We're opening up, but we have to open with the guidelines in check. We can't leave anything to chance and say when we open, we can get these things. No. If they are not in place, we stay close. Right? So we have to keep that in mind as we move forward, right? We have to keep those things in mind. As I mentioned, we have 2 hours to move from one place to the next. We have 2 hours, we don't have, so a lot of what we used to do in church will have to be cut because we don't have the luxury to be wasting time, right? So it's 2 hours, but it's 2 hours of purposeful worship service, right? I know that some persons are anxious and eager to get out, and when you get out, you don't want to go home. But no, 2 hours after 2 hours, the buildings are closed, and anybody who is not in line with that, then the church will go back into closed mode for a long time until you can abide. All right. So we don't want to stop anybody from worshiping, but we want to ensure that we do the best we can with the space that we have. Clear? As we know, persons of certain age group are still asked to stay home along with children under the age of 12. So therefore, I know we are going to have a challenge in this area because a lot of our members are over 65 and some of them are have quite a bit of them have pre-existing conditions. Sad to say that these are the persons who give the most trouble, and they are going to be some of the first ones who decide that they want to come, and they are going to be the ones who say they're not going to wear any mask and all these things. All right. However, brethren, if you come without your mask, you will not be able to enter. With all of that, with all of the social distance and the sanitization, no mask, no entry. Right? So we have to keep that in mind. Leaders, let me remind you that these things are not optional. These things are not optional. The guideline is we come with our mask, we sanitize, and after 2 hours, we leave. All right? Persons will be asked, there will be a record of everybody who attends service. There will be a record of everybody who attends service, so that just in case we find ourselves in any situation, then we would have been covered for that. Trying to find a document. Okay. Yes. So I'm going to tell you the information that we're going to. This is the why you wet off your pants? All right, so okay. All right, so the Clarendon Health Department has sent out a document that they'll be using to inspect churches when they actually come, right? And these are the things that they'll be checking for. Thermometer provided, if that is so. Temperature check done for each person, if that is so. Temperature log provided, if that is so. Temperature log updated, if that is so. Hand washing station provided with liquid soap, paper towel. Sanitizer available and properly labeled. Right? Sanitizer used before entering church. Face mask worn by all persons entering church. Social distancing observed. Proper signage in keeping with the Ministry of Health and Wellness guideline posted at locations that are visible. So even though we want to open, we must have proper signage. So the information from the Ministry of Health that states that you should wash your hands, you should practice social distancing, wear your mask, all of those things has to be posted so that everybody can see it before they enter. Right? And these are all the things that they will be checking for if and when they turn up at your church door. Right? So all those who say we have to check the temperature, it is necessary. All those who say we not have to wear no mask, it is necessary. Those who have all kind of challenge, these are the things that they are looking for. Right? The social distancing, the temperature check, the temperature log, the sanitization, the wearing of masks, the social distancing, the signage, and the sanitizer, which is supposed to be properly labeled. So anywhere a sanitizer is, it's supposed to be labeled and say that a sanitizer is here. All right. So all those things, the Ministry of Health is looking for if and when they turn up at your church. All right. This is a sample of the temperature, the record log. All right, I'm gonna send it in the group so other persons can see it. And I just sent it to you as well, Sister Campbell. Yeah, so yes. So they'll be using these things. So these are the things that they'll be looking for when they come. So we'll be taking the name, the address, the temperature, the time, right? And we may adjust, depending on who it is, we may take the phone numbers if we don't have them. So if a visitor comes, we'll take the phone number as well if we don't have it, right? And we will state any remarks if the temperature was normal, high, above normal, whatsoever it was, right? And this must be done twice for the service. All right, so this will be done two times for the day. So the temperature log will be done twice for the day. All right, gentle folks. So these are some of the areas that we'll be looking at over the next few weeks. Yes, I know that we want to open. However, we can't just open like that. We will have to open with caution. We'll have to open with caution. All right, I'm sending another document. So these are some of the things that we have to put in place. It's not just having the temperature, the thermometer, and just take the temperature and you're gone about your business. No. Some persons, I know that some persons don't like to give information, so. But if you're not willing to give us these basic information, we're going to ask you to stay on the outside. Right? Because we have to give an account for everybody who is within the space, just in case. Because I know that some of us are of the opinion that COVID, because we don't see an exponential growth in the COVID numbers right now, we're of the opinion that COVID gone, COVID not gone away. COVID is not gone anywhere. COVID is still here, and it is still alive and well. Right? And as more places open up, we will be more at risk for will be more at risk with these things. All right. So please, not that we want to, we want to hinder you from doing what you want to do, but we have to keep that in mind. All right. All right. I see a question from Ella Grant. All right, just before we go to this question, Ella G, Sister Campbell is putting up temperature, the temperature log, the data log that we'll be using. This one, this is the log that came from the Ministry of Health, the public health persons in the parish. So we'll be using this to record information for the specific and the different churches as soon as we are in operation. All right. And every Sabbath we'll be checking, we'll be doing the checklist from the Ministry of Health, so that just in case the public health inspectors turn up, then we can show them the document to say all of these things are in place and it's been done on a regular basis every Sabbath. All right. So in opening up, we will have to be vigilant. We'll have to be wise in our thinking, and we'll have to follow the guidelines. Right? We'll have to follow the guidelines. We don't have a choice where it comes on to the guidelines. We have to follow them. There's no option in the guidelines. We have to follow the guidelines. All right? All right. It's time for questions. Before I continue, it's time for questions. Yes, Maria? He was here. Where did you put this? I don't know where it is. I don't know, Maria. I don't know.
We're not hearing you, Pastor.
Sorry about that. Just to be clear, gentle folks, service is not from 9:15 until 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock and then we go home. No. It is 2 hours out of the day that we're asked to be in the physical space. It's either between 9 and 11, 10 and 12, 11 and 1. And I wouldn't ask for 12 to 2. I want to ask us to come out for that time. So you have to pick a slot between 9 and 1. So it's either 9 to 11, 10 to 12, 11 to 1. You have to, so we pick a slot during that time. And I will ask that everybody don't pick the same slot. All right, everybody don't pick the same slot, please. But it's 2 hours out of the Sabbath, not the half of the day or the entire day. As I mentioned before, for liability purposes, right, it is 2 hours. The administration of the conference, which we are a part of, has made it very clear that they will not cover anybody who gets injured or anything in the space over the 2 hours that they prescribe. Yes, I know we have our own feedback and we have our own take on things. However, just remember, gentle folks, we are part of an organization and we are expected to follow the guidelines, the policies, the protocols that are put out by the organization. We can have our own opinion on anything we want to have it on, right? Because we can say, well, we don't see anything wrong. We can have church right through because nothing wrong, and we don't have no COVID case up here and all, and so on and so forth and such the like, right? However, at this time, this is the policy that we're working with, and we're asking everybody to follow them, right? So we won't be having any handshake at the door. No handshake at the door, no potluck after the 2 hours. Once we are finished, right, we exit and we leave. All right? Clear, everybody? All right? Clear, everybody? I hope everybody is understanding what I'm saying, you know. All right. That's mine. All right. So these are the things that we're working with so far. Right? These are the things that we're working with. All right. Sister Camille, you can go to some of these questions for me, please.
Okay, sir. We have first, Brother Grant is saying, good afternoon. Is it possible to have internet in at least one of our churches in the district so that we can have coverage of a live service instead of having the virtual and church running concurrently?
Yes, that's what we're looking at that, Ella Grant. We're looking at that. We're hoping to have a live feed from the James Hill Church every Sabbath, just the same. All right, so we're looking at that. We're looking at that. We're working out the internet logistics, and we're hoping that everything will be in place by next week. All right, so we're working on that because we don't want to just jump off the virtual space and don't have anything in place, because there are persons who have been following us for the past couple of months who we still want to keep track of, even though we are in the space.
My finger thing can't get out. Tie it on my finger.
It cannot be. I can't tie it anywhere.
Tie it down. I need to tie it on my finger.
All right.
Tie it on my finger.
Sister Campbell, you can give some more on that for me, please.
Are you ready for the next one? Oh, well, all right. As Pastor said, we will be trying to stream from James Hill. However, as you know, at the moment, there's no internet connection there. So we will have to work out the logistics of that, of getting an internet connection, as well as getting the recording done from the site, because we will have to maneuver the manpower to host the recording at the church. All right, so even if it is being hosted remotely, we would still need someone to record the service at the church, which would take the internet connection and manpower. All right, so that's basically it. And then persons would be able to stream as usual that particular service and watch.
All right. Thank you, Sister Campbell. Continue for me.
Before you come, sir, I will just throw it out in the meantime that in order to do the recording, it would be quite helpful if we have a video recorder to assist us in doing that. So if there's anyone out there who has a recorder that they can loan to us, or they want to donate, no problem, or you just want to avail the service during service hours, we would appreciate it. So you can get in touch with Pastor or myself to let us know. Are you ready for the next question, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
All right.
Not hearing you.
Sorry, Ali20B said, I don't know if this was mentioned, but will there be an area set aside just in case someone has a high temperature?
Yes, in as many places as possible, we will be doing that. We'll be ensuring that there's an area that is set aside so that persons who may have a higher than normal temperature can be host until we get some clarity as to where they can go, or they can go back home, or because what we'll be doing, we'll be ensuring that just in case we come across any abnormal situation, we'll have somebody who can get in touch with the health authorities to give us some guidelines just in case we come in contact with anybody who is out of their temperature is way too high, or any such thing. All right. So that's the reason why when we say we have to have a quarantine area, temporary quarantine area, is not. There are a few places that we may have a challenge with that. However, as much as possible, we have to adhere to these guidelines, because the fact of the matter is, we're a public space. We don't know who coming and where they're coming from. Because once you open, you can't tell visitors not to come to church. That's a fact. Right? So you may have a person who is coming from Kingston or Montego Bay or St. Catherine, and they just happen to come to church that day. However, when they come to church that day, they have a very high temperature that was not picked up before. They can't be infused in the regular space of the church. That's why those who are sanitizing and working at the front will have to ensure that they have the proper protective gears, just in case somebody comes there who is questionable, that they are protected against whatever is happening. Right? So the persons who will be doing the temperature checks and all of that, they also will be having their masks and their gloves and be well protected to do that. So leaders, please bear this in mind. And the persons who are doing temperature checks and stuff, they can't just out there checking temperature. They have to have their masks, their gloves, and the other necessary things that they are going to need to carry out these responsibilities. All right. Sorry about that. So these are some of the things that we have to keep in mind going forward. Gentle folks, we don't have, we are working in a very tight space. We're working in a very tight space, and we have limited amount of what I should say now, room for error. We have little to no room for error as it relates to these things. Know that some persons are still saying that the Sunday church not do this and the Sunday church don't do that. We're not the Sunday church. Bear that in mind. All right? We're not the Sunday church. What they didn't do, that doesn't mean that we should not do. All right? So we have to keep that in mind, and the folks, we have to stay on top of things. We have to be a part of whatever is happening, and we have to be vigilant in the time that we have to do what we are doing. Yes. So these are some of the things that we're looking at, that will be looked at, that will have to be in place as we make our transition from one place to the next. All right. All right. Any other question? Any other question? Any comments? Talk to me. See any other questions, Sister Campbell?
No, I don't see any more questions. This person's indicating that they're clear on what you have said so far.
Okay. All right. All right. We are looking at going back into the physical space. I want to get a feedback from some other folks. I know that some persons are anxious to get back, but others, tell me, how comfortable are you going back? And should things get worse, how comfortable will you be?
All right, I have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Sister Abron is asking, what will be the order of service for the 2 hours?
Okay.
So,
all right. The other service will be sent. Will be sent. Give me a minute, please. Give me a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. So the order of service will be published, but later on in the week. It should be published by next week, before Sabbath, anyhow. But it will not be much of a deviation from what we currently use online, because we would basically have just about an hour to do our midday or the preaching aspect of our service. The other aspect will have to rotate between the youth department and Sabbath school. So we have 1 hour to rotate between the youth department and Sabbath school, and another hour, and the other hour we'll use for our what we call the divine worship part of the service. It will not be a case where we're breaking anyhow, As we finish one segment, we'll just move straight into the other, because we don't have the latitude we don't have time to waste. We have a tight 2 hours that we'll have to work with. We may not, because of internet constraints, we may not be able to stream all 2 hours out of the service, but we would try to stream at least an hour. If we can stream the 2 hours each Sabbath, then we'll do that. If not, then at least an hour we'll try to ensure that we stream on Sabbath to get persons involved in what we are doing. All right, Sister Campbell?
Okay. Yes, sir. Secondly, the Thompsons they said you mentioned 2 temperature checks. They are saying they are aware that one would be done upon entering, and they're asking when would the second temperature check be done?
In the middle of the right after this either Sabbath school or youth department time. So it's midway the next service. So we'll do one upon entry and about an hour or so into the worship. Then we do the other one. All right.
Okay.
The fact that we'll have everybody recorded, we won't have to ask you to get up again. We'll just take the temperature to ensure that everything is all right, just to see.
All right. Another question.
Mm-hmm.
What the question is asked, what about the cleaning team? Will they be able to hear the service?
Should. The cleaning team they would be on rotation for those. Pretty much all the churches have loudspeakers, so everybody should be able to hear what is happening. For James Hill, we'll position the speaker boxes at strategic locations where everybody can hear, regardless of where you are on the premises. And anything that does not need to be touched will not be touched. So we're trying to make it as efficient as possible. We're trying to make it as efficient as possible for the cleaning team. So anything that does not need to be touched will not be touched. All right.
And again, in terms of resources, that it's been asked, where are we now in terms as it relates to the resources?
Which one of the resources?
Are we talking about human resource, or are we talking about the equipment, the tools that we need? Or what do we have to open in terms of the equipment and the various paraphernalia that we need in order to open? All right, so we'll provide you with an answer for that in a little while. In the meantime, we are also, I would like to put it out there too, that the persons who are responsible for the Sabbath school program, as well as the Adventist youth program, the AY program, they could use the time to generate and stimulate a program that that can be used during this period, knowing that you will have a limited congregation, and you will be also extending online to others. So we're going to ask that the Sabbath school and AY department, you pull your team together and work something out and provide a program that can facilitate both mediums. So for example, Sabbath school team may gather the lesson reviews or clips, or may even record the lesson review or snippets of Sabbath school being done, whether through the classes or the adult Sabbath school or various segments of the children's program, or a review of the lesson, whatever medium they may choose, they could do that so that it could be presented online and that the congregation on hand will have that. And the same goes for the AY department, because you may be able to get 1 and 2 persons to send videos in or to contribute in various ways, both virtually and otherwise, that you can put together to make a wonderful program that can reach and can bless others.
All right. Thank you, Sister Kim. Thank you for that. That's a very good suggestion, and that is coming from the person in charge of our technical support. All right. Repeat the question that you had on hand, Sister Campbell.
Okay. The question, oh, it was asking about resources in terms of the equipment we need to open. Where are
Yes.
we in terms of that?
All right. Some persons are ahead of some, but as it relates to for John's Hall, we are close to getting there. Frankfield, we are about 50%. James Hill, we are about 40% at the moment, but by the end of the week, we should be close to 100% by the end of the coming week. All right. We should be close to 100% by the end of the week.
And another suggestion, comment. Sister Brown is saying that she hopes that persons working, that they will be rotated each week, because we wouldn't want the same set of persons to be working every week in terms of the sanitization team, because they too need to be a part of the service. Okay, and Jadine is saying that you mentioned a youth service and is asking how that will fit in. So you can elaborate on that as well.
All right. So yes, Sister Brown, the sanitization team is limited, so they will have to do as best as they can on the rotation front. So we'll try our best to ensure that we don't have the same set of persons being stressed out. It will be the same team. However, we'll try to rotate persons so that different persons will operate at different stations each week. As it relates to on a programming basis, we'll ensure that we rotate the persons who are taking part in the service each week so that we can have a better balance. We don't have much to rotate as we are strapped where it comes on to resource personnel and otherwise. So we'll do the best that we can to ensure that everything operates well throughout the process. All right. The youth program, we have 2 hours. One will be for the preaching section of the service, and the other hour will rotate between the youth department and the Sabbath school department. So, say for example, the first week we have Sabbath school department coming to do the first hour before the preaching hour. Then the other week we'll have the youth coming with their program that first hour before the preaching hour. So every other week, the youth department and the Sabbath school will rotate their programs. All right, clear?
All right, and in addition to that, you can always get in touch with myself or Pastor for suggestion, as well as your department leaders, in terms of suggestions of how we could maneuver a program that will be suitable based on the situation.
Yes. Because as you can see, we're in a tight space. We don't have much room for error, and we don't have much time to waste as it relates to our time span that we have. So if we're going to do an hour, and remember, gentle folks, we are going to try to, if we don't stream everything, we will collate aspects of your programs to send through to the live feed before the service actually begins. So what we're asking you to do is ensure that you put together a good enough program. Let's jack up something Sabbath morning, because we don't want that. We want a good program to feed the folks online who are not able to come in the space with us. All right, gentle folks. And what we'll do as well, For that first hour, we we don't want to be biased, so we'll try our best to ensure that different churches are featured different weeks the for at least the first hour. The preaching rotation hour, I'm not sure how that would go. We'd have to work out that later on in the weeks ahead to see how best we can rotate from one church to the next as it relates to the preaching aspect of the worship service. Right. However, for the first hour, if we can't do it live, get uh we'll get footage or clips of what is happening or the high points in your program, and then we'll stream it through the live feed before the actual service before the other hour begins. Clear, gentle folks? Right, Sister Campbell?
Yes, sir. That will be fine.
Yeah. So what we have in the brethren, we have a situation where we are trying our best to maneuver the virtual space while keeping everybody connected and keeping everybody together. You know, we have limited time. We want to put the best forward. So we have to do the best we can with what we have. Right? So we're asking for your cooperation, for your support in all these areas so that we can have an efficient and effective transition. Right? We're not one of those districts that already have the high-tech equipment can run the live stream as from one place to the next. So we'll have to transition the equipment with the bodies to the physical space. Difficult, but we'll try our best to maneuver all of that in the time span that we have, so that we can get the best out of what we're putting forward. All right.
And Pastor, while you were
yes,
speaking,
Sister Campbell.
While you were speaking, it came to me that on a given week, maybe we could stream the sermon part for one church and the Sabbath school for another church.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So,
yes.
And then we can continue to alternate. In terms of the services for the day, only one would be live as for now, until we work out the logistics, but the others would be would have delayed coverage on the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
We would just need someone to record from that side.
Yes. So we're doing our best, gentle folks. We're doing our best. We're going to need your support. The younger folks who are technologically advanced, Sister Jadine and Sister Kiona and all of them, they are technologically advanced. We're gonna ask them to come on board and help us out in all these areas. We have Sister Savvy in Johnsall and Sister Morrison down there in Frankfield. We're gonna need all the support, the tech support that we can get to ensure that we have the best program. On a programming basis, we want to put forward the best. We don't want to put forward any haphazard thing. Because once you put it up on the YouTube link, it's going to be there, so persons will be able to go and watch it. And if you're not meeting their needs, then you will have a problem in the weeks to come. You'll find out that you're streaming and nobody's paying you any mind. Right? So, and we don't want that. We want it to be a case where when we go back into the space, then things start to click, things start to flow, and people feel that we are back in space and we are working on this thing, even though we may not have some of the things that others have. Right? And I know that, and brethren, while we don't have the recording cameras, some persons have some very high-tech cell phones, that records very well, way better than even some of the cameras that are being used. So if you have one of those high-tech phones,
monkey.
Yes.
The
So if you have those phones, we're gonna ask for your tech support to get these video live streams clearer to the live feed and to get the best out of what we're putting forward. Persons who have Lime service, especially in James Hill, you will be called upon because it seems as if Lime service works better in James Hill than Digicel, at least where the church is. I know that my Digicel don't really work so well at the church. It works around the church when it's ready, and one and two places in the church, but not everywhere. But for those who have Lime service or have Flow services, it picks up a bit better at James Hill. I know that Digicel picks up good at Frankfield and Johns Hall for the most part. It picks up good down there, so we won't have much problem with those areas. As long as we have somebody who can do the recording for us. So we have to put those things in place. And leaders, please, we're going to need your support because we don't want it to be a case where we have to be running from here to get a footage down there, to get a footage over there. No, it's not going to work. If that is the case, then we just stream from one place. And then everybody else will just have to do their thing. But we want to include everybody in what we're doing. So we're gonna ask you to come on board and to assist us with the live feeds as much as possible, right? As I mentioned, the program outline will not be long. It will be to the point. So a lot of the things that we normally have in service, and some persons like to do a long intro before they say what they have to say. No. You have something to say, you get up, you say it, you go sit down. Or you move from wherever the space is. That's it. We don't need any long anything drawn out in the time. Especially the hour that will be streamed live. The hour that will be streamed live, we don't have the delay privilege. Because when you delay, people cut you off. So you have to be able to maneuver these things and move forward very quickly. So you ask to do prayer, you do the prayer and welcome and greetings in a one. You do the prayer and you move. That's how live feeds work. And for those of you who have been watching live feeds since we have been on the virtual space, you will see that once somebody's asked to do something, they just do it and move. All right.
All right.
So those things would have to be considered. Yes, Sister Cam, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to add to what you're saying and make an appeal, continue to make the appeal to the young people. This is your opportunity to get involved. This is your opportunity to make your invaluable contribution to the service. I know some of you, having been home and all of that, you got bored and you're a little bored and all of that. But now is a chance for you to get up, get excited, get your creative juices flowing. It's a chance for you to now explore, experiment, and I see my son doing some things online. It's time for you to now use that to the glory of God. So wipe off the phones if they're dusty, make sure the batteries are well charged, and start planning programs, start thinking of things, especially current things that will be of value to us as a church and for the global space. And I'm going to say to you, so if it is that we have young people based everywhere working with the leadership, I think we can have a beautiful online program running with our physical service.
Yes, I think so as well. Beautiful.
Question.
Yes.
Brother Grant is asking if we could create a new outline of this 2-hour service.
Yes, we'll be doing that. It will be a new outline. But just as how we have a short, to the point outline for the past few weeks with the online program, it's the same way we'll have the 2 hours will be to the point. We won't have any fluff or anything in there. It's to the point. We don't have the luxury of time to waste during the 2 hours. Or things will have to be cut out. We don't have the time to waste during that point. especially during the parts that will be streaming. And so we're going to ask you to, when the outline is put forward, then we're going to ask you to stick to it. Please, we're going to ask you to stick to it. But the outline will be created. It's a new outline that will be created, LG. It's a new outline. You'll I'll touch base with you in a week, and so you can give us your feedback on it as we put it together. All right. But it's a new outline that we'll put together with the aim of meeting the needs of pretty much everybody as much as we possibly can. All right. There's an idea that is toiling in my mind for the past few days. We know that there are certain persons who are asked to stay home because of their conditions and all of that, their age, pre-existing condition, and so on and so forth. Right? However, we know that some of these persons will be anxious to come into the space. What we may do, and we're still toiling with that, we have not gotten any clearance with that one. We may have a service for them. So probably one of the Sabbath out of the month, we have a service where we call where it's just those persons we have in the space. So anybody apart from those who will be streaming and stuff, we won't have anybody else in the space with them. We know it may look like a segregation, but for them not to feel like an outcast, we'll have them come together, and we have a service geared towards meeting their needs on that Sabbath. It's something that is going through my head. Don't get any clearance on that yet, but if we get clearance on that, then I'll let you know, and then we can develop on it to meet the needs of pretty much our entire congregation that we have to serve. Right? So bear with us. It's a far stretch, but work with us. Yes, Sister Campbell.
Similar to what you just said, it has been on my mind, and I'm trying to figure it out, as you are too, with the members who are not necessarily able or should come out. And one of the things that came to me was, maybe for those who can't come out, someone could go and visit with them, maybe even during the week, and have them do a part of the service that could be interjected in the physical service and on the live stream, so they are included as well, or just go to them and view the service with them, or pre-record them participating, and then have that, please.
Wonderful. I didn't think about that part, but that's why you're the tech person, Sister Cam. Yes, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, because we know we have quite a few persons who would not want to come out, or who probably are not inclined to coming out, or for some reason they're shy. They don't feel comfortable gathering back in the space as yet, for whatever reason. We would go to them in the week, as was mentioned, and try our best to work with it. Right? So for example, we want them to pray for the Sabbath. We will go and we will record them praying. So when prayer time comes, the prayer will fit right in there. We just stream it live on the. So for those who would be viewing the live program, when it comes to prayer time, the person will still be praying, but the prayer that they will be hearing is the prayer of the person who was recorded before, or the offertory, or something like that. I like the idea, Sister Campbell. Sound like something that can work.
Yeah, we can toy with it and see how it flows.
Repeat that for me.
Oh, I was saying, yes, we can toy with it and see how it flows, how to fine tune it.
Okay, wonderful. 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 All right. We, as was mentioned, gentle folks, we have 2 hours. We have 2 hours. It's not, we know it's not our regular amount of time that we normally would use, we normally would have at our disposal. However, that's what we are given currently. That's what we are given now. So we just have to work with it, right? What we have to do is ensure that the time that we spend in the space is meaningful. Not about the amount of time we spend at church, it's about what we do in the time that we have, right? That's the key. That's the key. It's not the amount of time you have, it's what you do in the time that you have. So what we do in the time that we have is going to be critical. But we can have the whole day and it's half of the day don't make any sense anyhow. But if the 2 hours, we will try to put the best foot forward. And probably even after COVID and we are relaxed to some extent, some persons may not even want to go back to certain aspects of the full day program because they would have been so much abreast with the new format that it would be more beneficial to them than if we go back to our regular way of operation, which I don't see us going back to our regular way of operation now anyhow. But it may be beneficial to us in the long run. We're hoping. So just help us to get there. Just help us to get there for the next few weeks. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any other question?
No, I'm not seeing any more questions or comments at the moment.
Okay. I have a lot of persons on YouTube. Give us your feedback, gentle folks. Give us your feedback and tell us what are some of the key areas that you think we should zoom in on while we make this transition. I'm seeing a long name here on Zoom. Who is this? And they have those long names, I can't,
I'm assuming it's the Howells. Because I'm seeing a portion of the name that I recognize.
Okay.
Or kind of recognize.
Why this? I'm not sure if this is a name or if it's a paragraph. All right. Anyhow, we give thanks for that. All right. And remember, gentle folks, we have, when we get back in the space, we will work with, it will be 2 exits that will be we'll be working with, 1 entrance, 1 exit. So persons who will be coming in will come in through one and you'll be exiting through the other. Right? If you get out, if you step out and coming back in, you'll have to sanitize before you come back. All right? So bear that in mind. So even without mentioning it again, or the consistent reminding of that, the area that you coming through, you'll exit through another one, right? So you will have one entrance, one exit. So even if you have more than one exits, more than one entrances, you're only using one. One for exit, one for entry. Clear? Sister Campbell, anything more? Is there anybody,
Yes.
anything else?
Yes, Sir
Go
G
ahead.
says, saying before and during the start of service, we have to constantly educate the church as to the COVID protocol because some
Yes.
people forget easily.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So while we have the protocols being posted, while we have the protocols, the washing of hands, the cover your mouth when you're coughing, the sanitizing of your hands, the wearing of masks, and all the checking of your temperature and all those things. We as before the beginning of service, there should be I need to recommend the order of service. We'll put it in the order of service, Sergi. We'll put it in the order of service where we have a few minutes to debrief and give a constant reminder, educating of the COVID protocols, not just from the government, but also the ones that we're working with that is coming from the organization as well. So we'll keep that as a part of what we do.
Yes, Pastor, in terms of
Yes.
the members who will be coming each week, will we be streamlining that as well in order to create more opportunity for more persons to come out? Say, for example, this week we just word speaking, I don't literally mean this, A to C and whatever, so that every week not the same set of persons are in the physical space, but that others get a chance to come out as well. Or we will just leave it open.
We, depending on where we are, some persons may not have to do that, but for James Hill, that may have to be done. Some aspect of that may have to be done for James Hill, because James Hill, as you know, James Hill have the largest attending population. So some aspect of that may have to be done for James Hill, but for the others, it may not be an issue because they would basically be running their regular program with their regular set of persons every week. But for James Hill, we'll try our best to see how we can maintain and monitor as many persons as possible. We have a large percentage of senior folks who are above 65 and who have pre-existing conditions, so that may eliminate a large portion of the population for us at James Hill, which they might be some of our biggest challenges going forward. But anyhow.
But Pastor,
yes,
even though some of our leaders are in the group that may not be able to come out, if you're gonna rotate those who come to service, how do you treat the leadership in terms of rotation?
That's why I said, that's why I said earlier. They for those who are in the bracket of who should not be out, those leaders can't be rotated, So it will put a strain on the ones who are here. We're hoping that by July we'll have the service of Ella Robin and Ella Robin to assist us, because most of the other elders, as you know, most would be out. And no, man, brother, that's why I said. So it's only you and Brother T and T. So that's why I say I'm hoping that by then we'll have the assistance of Ella Robin to assist us, right? Hoping that T comes back and everything is all right, right? So we're hoping that happens. But if not, it's on you and LT for you'll have to hold a significant part of the weight as we progress in. That's why we can't have a lengthy program. So persons who can do other things, who will be able to do other things, they can come out and do what they have to do, and who needs to rotate. So we try our best to manage the process as best as possible, from a leadership perspective, so that we're not burdened with anything, so to speak, because of the shortfall in the human resource that we have.
All right. Yes, sir. 2 questions.
Yes.
The question is being asked, what if some persons don't want to adhere to the protocol? How should we react? And I'm supposing these are from the greeters or the persons who will be at the entry point.
All right. For entry, if you don't want to adhere to the protocols, no entry. That's where it is. Not adhering,
right,
no entry.
And I went somewhere.
That's the wrong one, Mary. Go ahead, Sister Campbell.
During this, I went somewhere during this week, I think it was, and it was a store actually, and they required us to wear a mask while in the store, and the notice was posted that if you take off your mask while in the store, you will be asked to leave. So you have a legal backing to ask persons who are not willing to adhere to remove themselves from the area, right? Because you have to fulfill your legal requirement as well. So even though you enter with the mask, you have to keep it on for the duration of the time you're in the store. Other than that, they ask you to leave. Secondly, Sergi is saying we could post the seating capacity for the church outside so that when the capacity is reached, we won't admit anymore. That is good to say, we can only take 15 and we can, like when they say parking lot full, bad analogy, but I guess I think it would make sense so persons would know ahead.
Yes. So it's I like that, Sister Campbell, because a lot of times, when we go into some of these supermarkets and some other places, we can't go in there, and when I go into the supermarket, I can't take off my mask. I went in a supermarket a few days ago, and I seen a fellow came in behind me, and he pulled down his mask because for whatever reason I don't know, and the security guard walked behind him and then said, "Sir, you have to put it on back, or else you have to leave the supermarket." So if we can't do that in a supermarket, we're in a church, which is a much tighter space. Supermarkets are normally big, where most of the time you're not touch nobody, right? But we're in a space where it is a much more enclosed space, right? So we have to adhere to these principles. As it relates to the seating capacity, I like that idea, LG. I like that idea because some person will say, but seat that enough space in a church. No, it's not enough space in a church. We know it's enough space in a church. However, the capacity that is set out based on the government protocols and policies and the rule of law is that these are the amount of persons that can hold in this space. So we're not going to breach it because persons believe that no space in a church. No. So once the seating capacity is met, then that's it. We stop admitting persons inside. Right? I like that analogy because some persons tend to forget very easily, that this is not only about us, that this is the rule of law that we have to deal with in the.
To put on the fire on the stove on the fridge top.
Yes.
It was mad.
Yes. Yeah. So it's some persons tend to forget that this is the rule of law. It's not just we try to make up some things as we go along as a church. Right? So thank you, LG. That's a very good suggestion. I'm going forward.
Yes.
Very good suggestion.
Excellent.
Very good suggestion.
Also, the question is asked if it was said that children under 12 will not be admitted.
The preferable figure is under 12, but if you have a child, if you have your child who is who is 10 and 11 and they can you can govern them. I don't see the problem, but you know that we have some children who are really unruly and they not stay one place. So for those children, we ask them to stay put. But as long as they can,
One more balloon here.
as long as they can, we can monitor them, and they are 10, 11. I don't see a problem. But
Look at this.
the preferred age I said is from 12 upwards to come out. But if they are 10, 11 and they can, I don't see the problem. Once they can adhere to the principles, I don't see a problem.
Hey, here, blow this for me. Blow it for me. Blow it for me.
Mary, come on, man.
There's a balloon for me.
It would be also,
Blow the balloon.
it would be good to note too that if you have several persons from within a family, children included, that you don't all have to come on a given Sabbath, you could take turns, because if we
Yes,
can only take
please.
so many persons and no more, we don't
Yes.
want just everybody from one house, one Sabbath. So you can decide
No.
that this week I will come or two of us will come, so others from other households can
Yes.
be present.
Yes, because we know we have some household that has who have all 5, 6, 7. If 7 of you come and we can only hold 20 or 25, then that's 7 spaces. So probably 3 or 4 other families can't get in because you already take up 7 spaces. And yes, there are some persons who are questioning the fact that they are a family, so they are supposed to sit very close to each other. Brethren, it doesn't really matter. You could have tight until you can't tight no more. Yes, you can sit in a certain area. However, you still have to maintain the same social distances. Not because not because we know that not because you have something or you don't have anything, right? Merely because if we should be just in case the health persons turn up without us knowing, or the police turn up without us knowing. If they see persons gathering like that in the space, then it may pose a problem, right? So it's not because we want to separate families. No, you can sit in the same area, you know, but based on how the seating capacity is, you'll be expected to sit according to the seating guidelines inside the building, right? That's why we say children under 11 should stay home, because as you know, children tend to want to move here, there, and everywhere. We don't want that. You want them to stay one place, and children don't like to stay one place. So we have to keep that in mind as we move forward as well. All right, so keep that in mind, gentle folks. So we're not trying to separate families, but you can sit in the same area, just not together. Because especially we have to set example for the others. Because if you do it, especially if leaders do it, then others come in behind and go say, but say last one so do it, so we can't do it too. No, we don't want that. We don't want that, gentle folks. All right. Any other question is there?
No, I'm not seeing any more questions or comments. I'm not seeing any more at the moment.
Wonderful. So, all right. Any other question that we didn't answer for our viewers on YouTube? All right. Anything else? Anything else, Sister Campbell? Anything else? And then if we miss anything.
Not seeing anything. I was just um thinking about the benches
Mm-hmm.
in terms of if the areas would be marked, the seating areas would be marked.
We'll be taking out the bench. For James, we'll be taking out the benches. So we'll be using the chairs.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be taking out the benches. So it will be chairs inside there.
Right, and markings will be placed whether on the
Yes.
floor, right?
Yes. And it's not just for James, it's for everybody. So ensure that the areas are marked. So even for persons coming in, if they come in, so if persons should come in groups, then they know that okay, you have the necessary social distance guidelines based on where the tape is to maintain. Especially
Okay.
for the restroom facilities. All right. We miss anything else? Miss anything else? Elegy, we miss anything?
Water drain my mouth. That's like yucky water. Having to bathe with the water.
All right. So we will be doing our best to keep things floating and to get everything in place for the various aspects of our worship experience over the next few weeks. But we're gonna ask the members to cooperate with us, please, because we know that some of our members they are very rebellious. So we're gonna ask you to please to cooperate with us over the next few weeks as we try to ensure that things are done accordingly and in order. Please, we're asking. All right. Mr. Campbell, anything you want to say to the folks? My battery life is
No, not in particular. I was just querying whether we had teams or persons to spearhead the various teams to get things running smoothly for when we reopen. So I would assume that contact will be made with the various persons. So for example, if the superintendent for Sabbath school is not on that, should be made aware, AY leader, etc. Maybe communications, whoever will be dealing with the signage, etc. Just wondering if persons have been earmarked for the various things that need to be done.
most of them have been earmarked already. We may have to remind some folks and contact some others. But
Okay.
but for the most part, most of them have been contacted.
Right, I can't think of anything else. That seems to be it for me.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. So brethren, we are looking forward to resumption. This is not a regular resumption, but we look forward to resumption just the same. Let me say a thing or two, gentle folks, on funerals, because I realize that persons are dying, not necessarily by COVID, but a lot of persons around us are dying. just a few weeks ago. I think it was last week. Was it last week? Sunday? Last week, Sunday morning. Sunday morning, one of our shut-ins passed. That's Brother Spark. Is luckily for us, his funeral service is the proposed date is the 26th of July. So that should be that's a blessing for us. And we won't have that on the immediate mindset of ours. However, however, for a lot of these funeral services, we are looking at persons coming from overseas. Persons are thinking of coming from overseas for some of these funeral services. Let me caution us, brethren. We can't afford to drop the baton in any way, size, or form with our protocols. Because as you know, COVID-19 is a hot bread over in America, UK, and Canada right now. And a lot of persons who may be coming down for some funeral services probably are persons who are coming from that space. So we can't afford to drop the button and say, oh, sure, we don't have a whole heap of people, so we can do we can certain things can allow to slide. No, just the same as how we would use just the same how we would do it for church. We have to do the same thing for funerals. Same sanitization, same protocol, one way in, one way out. For those churches that have what you call it, for James Hill in and of itself, that has the space, the space at the back, we will not be accepting the caskets inside during this period because it will be taking up a lot of space, which we don't have. So we will keep the casket under the gazebo section there for now, for James Hill especially. For the others, we know you don't really have gazebo, so we'll have to admit the casket with the necessary guidelines just to see. All right.
Pastor, Minister.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying if the hearse is parked into the churchyard with the casket, the casket do not have to be removed from the hearse, no?
Not necessarily. But you know, some persons will want a view. So we give them the benefit of the doubt. But
only for that.
For me, not even have to come to church, none at all. Where I'm concerned, they don't even have to come to church. Can't always go park up on the gravesite because it's not being of much help to us at the church anyhow. But persons who want to see, so we give them the benefit of the doubt. But for now, especially for James Hill, who we conduct most of the funeral services in the district, we will keep it on the gazebo there, maintaining no unnecessary protocols, and we'll ensure that before any funeral service, family members are aware of our protocols and where we stand as a church. Because we can't let down our guards on any of these things, because we can't allow one person or two persons to allow us to go into lockdown mode again for another 3 months. No, we can't afford that. Right? Can't afford that at all. Right? So we have to keep that on the forefront.
There's a message for you on the chat, sir. And
yes.
They're at the Thompsons are saying that they're will be visiting the Sparks today. And that the grave digging will be on the 22nd and prayer meeting on the 23rd, and that the family will get in touch with you.
Okay, no problem. I met with the family on Wednesday. One of the daughters on Wednesday as well, and so they should be getting in touch with me. And let me remind us, brethren, funeral services for the next until going forward, the days of 4 hours and 5 hours funeral services, those days are finished. Funeral services in the church, not surpassing an hour and a half. Are we clear? An hour and a half in this church. When you go to the graveside, not more than half an hour. So if anybody asks you, let them know that's where we stand. We can't be having church for 2 hours and have funerals for 4. Can't work. That don't make no sense. So for funerals going forward, not more than an hour and a half. Clear, gentle folks. I know that some persons like to carry some long service, you know. We're not going there with them. It's 1.5 hours. Anything can't hold in the hour and a half, not going to be done. So anybody who have that opinion, let them know from now. The hour and a half inside the building. So whatever they have to say, they say it quickly. Whatever they have to say, they say it quickly. Because we're not gonna breach our policies and protocols to please anybody. All right? Are we clear?
Clear?
So that's where we are, President. That's where we are. That's where we are going forward. As was mentioned with funerals, that's what we're going to do. And we expect your cooperation with these funerals. We mentioned that Brother Sparks' funeral will be on the 26th. However, we may have funerals before that. We don't know. Because as I mentioned before, persons are dying left, right, and center, not necessarily by COVID, but persons are dying very frequently these days. So we have to ensure that we stay on our guard and we have everything in place for that. Right? So we'll be, as was mentioned, the seating capacity will be posted big and bold at the front. So persons know how many persons will be seating inside the church. Right? Because there are persons who are of the opinion that as long as we can't get a seat, we can come in. No. None of that. All right? We will do our part to ensure that all the protocols are adhered to and that all the policies are carried out and that the persons who will have to interact with the public will be as safe as possible. All right? In whatever space they are asked to serve. Clear, everybody? All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Anybody else? Anybody else, Sister Campbell? I don't know if I'm missing anything. Ella Moses, I'm missing anything?
Question.
I'm missing anything, Moses?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Okay. I want to cover all areas, you know, because so I don't want anybody to tell me that they never hear that. Some persons are good at that, you know. Good at it. But pastor, they never say so. I want to ensure that I cover everything. Wait. This mosquito. Yeah, so I want to ensure that we cover all areas so that persons don't come and tell us that they didn't hear. All right. So if that is all, if that's all and there's no more questions, then Sister Campbell, back over to you.
All right. Sister Palmer is making us aware that the funeral service for Sister Nelta Palmer will be tomorrow, the 21st of June, and it will begin at 10:30. And I believe there will be a YouTube feed. So they're asking us to join them live on YouTube on Sunday. So I expect that we will get the link to join them.
Yes. I should be joining them physically for that tomorrow morning. all being well. But for those who can't join us, join them that time. Please to join them via the YouTube link. That would be good.
And keep the family in your prayers.
Yes, please.
They have been going through a lot and they have been strong through the grace of God. And we want to keep them up. You know, the songwriter says we need the prayers of those we love while, you know, passing through. So we have to bear them up and keep them in mind at this time. All right, if there is nothing else, would that be the end of it for this afternoon, sir?
Yes, I think so. I mentioned my battery is
Yes,
almost it's at end. Yeah, I actually have it on the charger. It's not good to have it on the charger while still in these settings. So I don't want to pressure it right now. All right. But we have spent quite a bit of time. So I think if there's nothing else, then I think we can close for this afternoon. So that those who want to join the conference live feed can do so.
All right, Elder Campbell, could you just pray for us to close? Thank you.
All right, let us pray. Great God and our Father, chart in heaven, we truly want to thank you for the privilege that you afford us, whereby we could come into your presence to have discussion. Pray in a very special way that your presence will continue to be with us as we continue to go through the remaining portion of the Sabbath. Pray for your blessing upon us, may you grant us your Sabbath day's blessing as the Sabbath would have come to its close. Take full control, continue to be with our minister, continue to be with the members of the church, and may you help us that when time on earth should be ended, and you would put in your appearance that we together will be gathered into your everlasting kingdom. Until then, Heavenly Father, we'll continue to wait upon you. These and other mentioned mercy we do ask, along with forgiveness of our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, take care, family. Love you. And we will see each other soon and we will reconvene in like manner, God permitting, next Sabbath.
All right. Take care, everybody. And remember, tomorrow evening, we begin with a conference at 7 on YouTube and on their Facebook page. That's centralja.org. And you should get the live feed. But as soon as the link has come out, then we'll send it to you as well in the group. So God bless you. Have a good rest of the evening.
Right. Take care. Same to you, Pastor.